Next one, adaptability in volatile environments is great by choice, specific, methodical, and consistent. So Putnam, I think it's Howard Putnam, Southwest Airlines. He was one of the companies that made the cut from good to great by choice because he was able to keep getting those high performing results after the volatility of the economic crisis in '08. And that's essentially the book's Good to Great looked at these companies that were for 15 years able to get these outsized results compared to the comparison companies. And then after the financial crisis, some of those companies just literally disappeared. And then what Jim Collins and his team did, they went and looked at which companies sustained it even after the thing, why some companies disappeared, other ones kept going, and Southwest was one of the ones that made the cut. And his specific, methodical, and consistent was he would only use 737s, for example. They were fast turnaround. He only had to have one kind of simulator, one version of training manuals. All his pilots could fly all the planes. So he had a very specific, methodical, consistent approach. So all the VUCA around him, the volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity, it didn't matter. It didn't affect him because his approach was so consistent. And that's what I talked to you guys about. And the example here is Chicago Bulls did it, Phil Jackson, but Los Angeles Lakers, they were also known for this triangle offense, which basically moved the players around into these triangles. And they always knew where their teammates would be because they would have a guy move from the weak side of the court to the strong side. But it always was creating these triangles. And so they always knew where to pass, and it made it very difficult for the other team to double team. These are just like, I'm changing my operating model. The business model is still the same. It's get to the NBA playoffs. It's become the champion. The operating model will be different. Fanatic discipline. This is from Out of Great by Choice. This was the two guys were going out to the Arctic on expeditions, and one of them did 20 miles a day no matter how good the conditions were, how bad the conditions were. Sometimes he didn't quite make the 20 in these really severe blizzards, but they did everything they could to get that 20. And then things were good. They didn't do 30 miles to make up. They did 20 every day, 20 every day. And then he built into his plan that he knew there would be some misses. But this is like that 100% versus 70%. Just because you hit 70% today or 85% today doesn't mean you have to make it up the next day. It's just sometimes you don't get the A on the test, right? But that 20 miles per day, and that's where the 20, and you can look up this 20-mile march, and it shows up in a lot of different places. And in this case, the Alabama football coach, importance of focusing on the process, always the process, always the process. And he didn't worry about deviating their preparation. Different strategies, fire bullets than cannonballs. This comes from Great by Choice. And the idea is that you test, and I love the example because in small business today, one of the huge advantages small businesses have is that they can test over and over and over. Like I talk about ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is on its way to being an enterprise solution. And so even if you have a web developer and a huge website and several $100 million company, you can still have ClickFunnels running inside. 8 o'clock, come up with an idea. 10 o'clock, your ClickFunnels can actually have A/B testing out with consumers in 2 hours. It's a very powerful tool to do the bullets and then cannonballs because you can test and test and test. And you're not interacting with your developers. You're not having to spend money. You're not having to have these design requirement meetings. You just decide, here's what we want to say. And then while it's going, they could literally change the A/B testing on the fly. This is working. What if we change that? Now you do ABC testing and just keep scaling up.